Hello and welcome to HyzerMedia's coverage of the 2022 New Jersey State Championships driven by Innova. Today we are at Stafford Woods and this is stop 11 of 25 on HyzerMedia's coverage tour this year. This coverage is brought to you in part by our Patreon family, so thank you to them and thank you to you for joining me. I'm Dave Oster, here to bring you today's coverage. We have an awesome star-studded card today. Starting off with the none other than Michael Johansen, MJ, with a scorching 15 down first round at Tranquility Trails. Not to be outdone, Matt Bell also with that scorching 15 down. Bringing up third on our card is McLaughlin, only one stroke off of that lead. And rounding out our card is Chris Villa with a nothing to laugh about 12 down at Tranquility Trails, setting up an awesome round here at Stafford Woods, and we will start on hole 1, par 3, 309 feet. There's a straight gap where you have to go completely straight where we see the drone flying, or a little bit of a wider backhand hyzer to try to come in the back door. And like we said, MJ Michael Johansen will be getting us started. Goes with a nice flip up, doesn't quite flip enough, catches that left side tree. It does keep pushing a little bit forward, so he'll probably be within 100 feet. So here, up second is Matt Bell. Looking to make the correction from Michael a little bit further to the right should be fine. And Matt actually taking that right side backdoor gap. Well, it looked like he might have kissed the tree a little bit, kicked it outside of circle 2, but pin high, so he'll probably have a long look at it. And here is McLaughlin, like we said, one stroke off the lead after the first round at Tranquility Trails yesterday, finding himself on HyzerMedia's lead card. The lefty backhand slow right to left drift, right up into the circle. Great shot by Bo. That's how you want to get started, especially after MJ and Matt aren't in position for birdie. Put yourself in there, try to tie it up early. And round out the card, Chris Villa. It looked like he turned it over just a bit too much. Catches something, he'll be right side. But luckily this hole is short enough, he should be able to get up and down for his par. Good upshot by Michael. Definitely don't want to be finishing this hole with anything higher than a par, because we see even from out of position you'll probably be able to find something to get yourself up onto the green, as we see Chris do a great job. And here's Matt for probably a 50-60 footer for his birdie. Oh, couple inches low. And now here's Bo with the best look for his birdie. And gets it in there. Great start. Bringing it to a 3-way tie for the lead. As the rest of these guys will tap in their pars. Moving over to hole 2, par 4, 509 feet. I want to thank our sponsor for the drone coverage today is Iron Hill Brewery and Restaurant. Off the tee, you want to throw a backhand, which is going to be drifting left to right. Try to get all the way up through here. If it keeps turning, it can get some big distance getting over this log. Most drives are probably trying to land around here. Set yourself up for a second shot through the gap we see the drone flying through. Try to land on the green for your birdie. That play might be a little bit different for Bo, as he has the lefty backhand lined up here. Sets up a little bit easier to hit that gap, but with something getting stable, might be difficult to get all the way up and follow the shape of the fairway. He does catch a tree and catches early, but being a par 4, he'll still have a chance to get up and down for a birdie. That was looking good. Just need to get between that one row of trees in the middle of the fairway, get over to kind of that secondary fairway, and it was turning to the right, so that was looking good. Matt Bell also catching one of those trees in the middle. Definitely not a easy tee shot. It's a unique shape. It kind of needs to fade to the right, then straighten out, then fade to the right some more to get towards the basket. Obviously, that's not something discs typically do, but players trying to do something to accommodate that fairway often makes this a very difficult hole. It is playing as the 6th most difficult at almost a quarter stroke over par. Oh, is Matt Bell able to skip his forehand over that log and setting himself up for another long birdie look. MJ a little cut off, finds something sneaky, and gets to the corner, at least so. He'll have another right side of the fairway look at getting up and down for his par. Again, this sets up a good shape for Bo's backhand, and he takes advantage of that, leaving it maybe 15-20 feet for his birdie. Chris looks like he's far enough up there that he actually has a line to try to sneak through, cut the corner, but I think he got caught up, so he'll have probably something from in the woods to try to get up to the green to save his par. And a beautiful turnover by MJ. Probably blind from where he was standing, throws a perfect angle, flattens out, slows down right on the green. So this is Chris, barely see him on the catch cam, but up and over, and he's on the green, maybe a little obstructed by that tree, but he'll have a look to save his par. And this is Matt for his birdie. Just a little high, just sit, and yeah, that should be fine for Matt. And here, Bo with, again, the best look for a birdie on the card. Oh, see the frustration, having this opportunity to take the lead this early in the round, and goes quite a bit past the basket. He's going to be, yeah, having a difficult comebacker and not able to get the height. And I believe that is Matt behind the tree, able to save the par. So, Bo was tapping in his bogey, unfortunately, giving that birdie right back after starting off tying the lead. And now Chris and Michael should be finishing up their pars. Ooh. Little kick to the side, but it does stay in. Michael thanks the basket, and we move on to hole 3. Par 3, 313 feet. One of 2 water carry holes. On this course, players are going to be trying to hit this gap that the drone is flying through, most likely. And then right over this hill and try to slow it down. This log is often useful on the left side, and we are going to the blue higher basket. Looking good for MJ. Oh, maybe a little bit too stable. He'll still have a look from in the circle, but that might be 25, almost 30 feet for him. And Matt also looking like he's getting something pretty... Oh, and catches an early tree. He did get over the hump, so he's not within circle 1 or 2, but he's on the dance floor, as they say. He's over the hill, and we'll have a look at the basket. This is looking pretty good. Something more like you want straighter, less stable disc will push towards that basket. And both throwing the backhand turnover, catching an early tree. I believe that did stay out of the water, yeah. So now we have a forehand up and through these trees and just trying to get it close to save his par. And he does just that. So for the third hole in a row, Matt Bell with a long birdie look. Oh! Oh! And into the bottom basket. Unfortunately, they're not playing to that one. So that is, it's parked. It's no penalty, it's no nothing. He'll just mark his lie under there and tap in his par. Great putt by MJ to get the birdie, starting off on the board, extending his lead over Matt. And Chris also on the board. He was pretty much parked for his birdie. Good par save for Bo after hitting an early tree. And not something you get to see every day, but Matt Bell will be marking underneath the basket and tapping in to the top one. Definitely an interesting short and long basket layout for this hole. But nonetheless, we'll move over to hole 4, par 4, 546 feet. Off the tee, you just throw in a hyzer, something flat with a hyzer finish, trying to just get as much distance on this open fairway as you can. A couple of strange undulations on the left side and a rough on the right side that you want to avoid. From there, you pretty much have another flat to a little bit of hyzer shot into the green. A few trees guard it, but once you get past there, it is wide open. So you just have to get there and give yourself a look. And this is looking perfect for MJ. Little hyzer, keeping it right in the middle. And that will do. Chris taking a little wide, but has enough stability on it. Needs to stay out of that rough. Maybe right on the edge there, I'm not sure. It didn't kick back out. Matt taking a little bit higher, giving the disc time to fade back out, and perfect bounce and roll right back to the middle of the fairway with decent distance down the fairway, so making it an easier approach for his second shot. Forehand for Bo, but same exact line. Looks perfect. Yep. Pretty good grouping from these four guys. I'm pretty sure even Chris is out of the rough, so all four of these guys should have similar approaches into the green. And this looks maybe a little high. Oh, it gets under those branches. And pretty good. That should be a routine putt for MJ for his birdie. Oh yeah, Chris, plenty of room. Not even having to think about that. Goes a little lower, a little flatter. Oh, actually goes around that one guardian tree to the much smaller gap, but lands on the backside of the basket. He'll have a similar length putt. A little bit of a gallery out here. As the round goes, it will get a little bit bigger, you'll see. Pretty exciting to see these pros all on a card here in Jersey. Great forehand by Bo, by the way. Rolls it right through the puddle and is the closest so far. Oh! And Matt may be trying to take advantage of his short upshot. Trying to maybe give the basket a little bit of a run, and this is the... Oh. That is the risk that you deal with running the basket, is you're going to have a longer comebacker. So Matt going to have to settle for the par after maybe giving it an eagle bid. The rest of these guys are pretty close, so should have just a couple more tap-in birdies. And Michael extends his lead over Matt by 2 strokes. And his lead over Bo now as well, tied for 2nd place. And Chris, with this putt, should be just 1 stroke back from them. So staying pretty tight with plenty of golf to go. As we move over to hole 5, par 4, 611 feet. Again, I want to thank Iron Hill Brewery and Restaurant for sponsoring our drone coverage. You see the stakes on both the left and the right side marking the out of bounds. Players just have to stay out of there, obviously, but the sloping right to left makes it difficult for the right-hand backhand, as the disc tends to carry far after skipping off the ground. So trying to either spike it in there hard or even throw the forehand to counter that is the play. And then from there you just have to find a gap through the trees and up to the basket. MJ going big, high, wide hyzer, trying to do exactly that, is just spike it in and keep it from skipping too far. Chris looking to match that, and he goes a little bit lower. This needs to sit. Oh, and it does. Thick, lush grass, definitely helping. If there's a right to left wind on this hole, it is almost impossible to get the disc down and have it stay down. Oh, and this is drifting towards the out of bounds. Oh, and just stays in. Last second kind of starts to fade back in. So that'll be just fine for Bo. And Matt Bell throwing a little bit higher and more stable shot, making sure it goes back into bounds. But certainly a scary shot for both backhand and the forehand. Throwing over out of bounds for a long way. And great shot by Bo, getting through those trees, skipping and rolling up to maybe 25-30 feet. Giving himself a look for a birdie. This looks a little too straight. It might come in the back door, but catches the tree. So MJ probably just going to have to pitch up and down to save his par. And almost an identical throw. Strange ground reaction. What I was going to say is we covered Matt Bell for the Stafford Open last year here, and he had an almost identical throw where it skipped and hit off the top of the basket. If you haven't seen that, go check out our coverage of the Stafford Open from 2021. A lot of highlights from there. But back to today, Chris Villa with a pretty good backhand shot gets through and actually past the basket. And now we see MJ maybe going to give this a bid. Yep, not bad. That was a pretty good run. Nice floaty bid. If it missed, as we saw, it didn't go very far, but obviously also could have gone in. So Matt having circle 2 or further putts almost all day so far. Not able to connect on any of them yet. And great putt by Bo, bringing him to within 1 stroke of Michael. This would be Chris, his birdie as well. And now he's tied with Matt as well, so keeping it close, everybody within 2 strokes of each other. Matt and MJ tapping in their pars. As we move over to hole 6, par 4, 571 feet. OB on the right side. There is actually OB far on the left side, but it's hard to actually find that because of the trees. Pretty much just trying to get as much distance as you can, keep it in the fairway. Left side is preferable, as the gap to get through all these guardian trees is the biggest. As we'll see, that's where the drone is going to fly. Second shots, you're approaching this beautiful built-up green. This is probably a 12 to 15 foot high pyramid style built up green. These players are either going to try to hit the base and have a very straight up putt, or if they are close enough, they may actually try to get on top of one of the layers. So we'll see. Chris, alright. Catches trees but falls down back in the fairway. He was heading towards that, kind of the only place where you don't want to be on this fairway. And Bo looked like maybe he put a little bit too much turn on that at first, but good stability disc. Comes right back to the middle. And MJ throwing pretty much an identical line, a little bit further left. Actually, looks like he got a lot more glide out of that disc. It is downhill, so if you get something going, it can keep carrying for a while. Good flip up for Matt, and wow, this is huge. This is probably 150 feet further than anybody else. He'll again have one of those 100-foot or so upshots, but obviously this is a more difficult green to run than most. Oh, Chris hit the only tree need to miss. But from there, it should be a pretty easy up and down for his par. And Bo had a good shot shape to get through that gap, pulled it a little bit left, but it looked like he's right up to that base, so he'll have a putt at it as well. MJ throwing another great turnover and gets right to the base. It does kick off a little bit, which is one of the risks with hitting, you know, a plank of wood like that. And Matt going for the top, almost stays on top. The back side of this green is not as steep if you go kind of straight back as we saw. So he'll still be up there for a birdie look. And Chris barely falling off the backside as well. Should still be close enough for his par. And great shot. MJ able to card the birdie from maybe 35 feet away, but almost as high as it was far. And Bo also making the birdie. These are not easy putts. They're far, and it is higher than it even looks on camera. And these guys are making it look easy. Oh, and Matt almost making it 3 for 3. Just off right side. So here's Chris for his par save. And just off a little bit. Maybe afraid to go past and fall down. Luckily he did stay up top. But that will be a bogey, bringing him back down to 14. So things spread out a little bit after hole 6, but we're moving on to hole 7, or second water carry hole. This is the same little lake, but maybe more of a threat of going in the water for this hole. Only 300 feet, but basket just near the shoreline with this retaining wall, which is basically a trampoline kicking your disc back into the water if you hit it. So players are trying to obviously get over that and try to give themselves a look. And this looks a little right. Misses the retaining wall. So Bo is safe on that right side. We'll see exactly what kind of look he has there in a minute. And this is a beautiful shot for MJ. Actually calling for it to go down. And there you go. Right by the circle one little flag.
That's a great job.
And disc almost hitting our catch cam operator, but players giving a little applause for getting out of the way. So now Matt Bell up, going with the forehand. Maybe just more comfortable with the forehand and the little backhand turnover. It's not a perfectly straight line. And that was turned over a little bit. It does stay safe, so he won't be getting a penalty stroke, but he is still on the short side of the pond. And this is a little low, but it's to the left side of that retaining wall, so that should be fine. And yeah, great shot, closest of the group. So Matt actually landing in a pretty good spot and hitting just the base of that little tree, keeping him pretty close. That looked like it might have been sawed off a little bit, but he should be right there for his par. And another great putt by MJ. As we saw his disc, he was outside of the circle, so call that a 34-footer. Chris just a step or two inside. That needs to sit. Okay, and it does. So that's where Bo ended up. A couple feet from the edge of the water. Maybe obstructed by these trees. And also making a great putt. So 2 holes in a row. MJ and Bo able to make pretty impressive putts. And separating themselves from the rest of the players on this card. Matt taps in, and Chris might still have a little bit of work to save his par. Actually, he's just a few steps away. Sometimes it's hard to tell with these elevation changes exactly how far the disc is. But Chris, no problems. A little upset that he missed a couple putts in a row. But we will move over to hole 8. Par 4, 467 feet, straight line off the gap. Tunnel shot, pretty much. The play is usually a skip shot, trying to hit the ground right around the corner, skipping up somewhere around here to give yourself an approach through most likely this line, maybe a little inside, maybe a little outside, depending where you land. And the ground does actually slope down towards the basket, so controlling your speed and ground play is important. And a little kiss off that corner, barely making it around, but Bo able to execute it pretty much perfectly after that. That's the ideal landing zone. MJ taking it a bit wider. Traditional play there. And beautiful. That's great. Right in the landing zone you're looking for. So Matt going to try to match that, most likely. A little lower, but very similar line. And perfect, right there. These guys are all within 15 feet of each other. Let's see if Chris can match them. A little lower, a little inside. Sneaks through and ends up pretty much in the same exact spot. If it wasn't for the last tree taking maybe 5 or 10 feet off, it would have been perfect. Chris looked like he caught a tree. He'd probably still be outside of circle 2, unfortunately. And yep, there you go. Matt, knowing that the ground does start to slope down, we can actually see it on the camera here. That's how severe it actually is. Hitting the ground early and letting it skip up. Both throwing the turnover. Oh, catching an early tree. It'll be maybe 40 feet. I'll have a look at it. And MJ pretty close. He's right near that short basket. Oh, and he hits the cage. Almost rings up the eagle. Take another look at it. That was tracking pretty much the whole way. And misses it by maybe an inch. Incredible shot by MJ. So now we see Chris here having to stretch out away from the tree. This is his 3rd shot. And he nails it! Great shot by Chris. Hit the tree on his 2nd shot, keeping him off the green, but still able to card the birdie. He probably just wasn't having it after the last 2 holes barely missing a couple putts. Said, I'm just going to make it. I don't care where I am. So, good shot by Chris. Bo missing his par putt. And now has a maybe even longer comebacker. And barely chaining out. So, that's going to be a double bogey, most likely. Actually, still not that close for Bo. Okay, he does make it. So, unfortunate double for him. And the birdie for MJ. So, 3-stroke swing after a 1-stroke lead that MJ just had. So, stretched out his lead a little bit after that hole, but still quite a bit of golf left. Hole 9 is a par 3, 301 feet. Very tight line. It's the backhand turnover, maybe a forehand for some of these players. Shapes well for Bo's backhand, but it's not quite a normal backhand line. It's kind of extended turning. It's not a corner you're trying to get around. As you see, these players aren't really able to get through too easily. This is usually one of the most difficult holes on the course, and today's no different. Playing close to a stroke over par, quarter stroke over par.
Yeah, Bill. Great job.
Chris actually able to get through there all the way, and he'll be on the green for a birdie look. And Bo's left-handed backhand maybe shapes the best for the shot shape, but takes it just a bit too wide. So Matt off to the right side, trying to make something happen. Just low, a little bit past the basket, but that should be an easy comebacker for his par. Now Bo pretty far on the left side, trying to manufacture something through these trees. And does it perfectly. Good save by Bo. So MJ did get most of the way up there. And again, maybe giving a little half bid, but making sure it's not going too far past. Very smart play. And Chris with the best shot for a birdie here. Clinks it off the top band. So apparently Chris only wants to make it when he's 70 feet away, because when he's inside of that, the last 4 or 5 holes, he's having a little bit of trouble. But he's still right there, only a stroke out of second with both Matt and Bo. And MJ with a 4-stroke lead after 9 holes for this final round. And as Chris comes over to tap in his par putt, that will do it for us on this front 9. If you watch the front 9, you see we have a lot of big names on this card, and we're going to get right into it on hole 10. It's a par 3, 265 feet. Pretty much one of the straightest wooded shots you're ever going to see. Anywhere off left or right, it's going to be difficult to access the green. So keeping it straight, as you can see here, is the play. Starting off this back 9, Michael Johansen with a 4-stroke lead, which just happened within the last few holes. If you haven't seen the front 9, definitely go back and check that out. And then come back here and follow the finale to this action. It was pretty close, within a stroke or two the entire round. And as Matt Bell kicks an early tree, this entire card, like I said, was within a stroke or two. In the last few holes, MJ started to open it up, but we are just starting the final 9, so lots of stuff can still happen. And Chris throwing exactly what you want to do, perfectly straight the entire time, using the ground And the wood chip, loose leaves on the ground to keep it going all the way up into the circle. And Bo also hitting an early tree, kicking off to the right side. So both Matt and Bo are going to have to manufacture something from off the fairway to get all the way up there. Looks like Matt didn't quite get this turned over enough, but he's within the circle, so he'll have a chance to save his par. Bo looks like he is a little bit closer to the fairway and has a better line for his forehand. Just needs to sit. Oh, and catches a tree. So I guess he took that just a bit too wide. So now he'll have this for his par. And he knew it out of his hand. Just a bit low. Should have maybe a 15-20 foot comebacker. And great putt by Matt to save a par. You can see having to duck under something, it was a little obstructed. But Matt has proven himself to be a very good putter. He is one of the putting world champions in previous years, so definitely has the skills to do that. As Chris gets a birdie, brings it into a three-way tie for second place right now, as MJ continues to lengthen his lead, now at 5 strokes. So the unfortunate bogey for Bo, as we move over to the longest hole on the course, hole 11, par 5, 775 feet. Off the tee, you're throwing it pretty straight. Want to hit in the ground around here, maybe skip up between these two trees. This is a pretty good landing zone. Second shot, usually a backhand turnover or a forehand, trying to follow the line that the drone is flying and get up to either this mound of sand or down into this little dry creek bed if you can. Set yourself up for about a 200-foot approach to the green on this very difficult par 5. I want to thank our sponsors for today, Iron Hill Brewery and Restaurant, sponsoring the drone coverage all around, so thank you very much to them. Cosmic, the presenting sponsor. And D-Town Disc Golf for also supporting our coverage. So MJ and Chris doing pretty much what you got to do in your first shot. Get it down the fairway. In terms of par 5s, the distance is not huge, so as long as you make it up there clean, even if the distance isn't that far up there, like we see Matt getting way up there, you're still able to make up some distance on your next few throws. In fact, some would actually argue that being shorter in the middle of the fairway probably a better spot than even where Matt ended up. He's way up there.
Oh, that skips so hard. Jesus.
Oh, and Bo getting a big flare skip and an even bigger tree kick and roll back to the middle of the fairway, and that's a perfect spot. MJ with a good tree kick back into the middle of the fairway. Again, he's still in good position to get up and down. And Chris, a little inside, but missing everything and getting up and almost out of that ditch that people are trying to get to on their second shots. So he's playing that hole perfectly. Bo, after kicking and rolling back into the fairway, has a pretty good forehand line. Catches some cabbage up high, but falls down and filters down into that ditch right where Chris's shot landed. And you can see Matt Bell farthest up, but out of position, makes it a tough throw. He had a line out there, little inside, hits a tree.
Go ball.
MJ asking for it to get
I've seen
up.
you make further. I've seen you make further.
Just enough that he's maybe circle's edge, maybe 40 feet, looking for his birdie. And that should do. Matt far enough up on his first throw that even after a tree kick on his second, he's able to get it to the green on his third. So a lot of different ways to do it in this hole. Like I said, the short distance allows for creativity and different ways to get there. You don't have to get a ton of distance on each of your throws, but being on the fairway is certainly important to make progression. So as we see, Chris is very far up there. Oh, and doesn't quite take advantage of being in the best position of the group. Hits that tree. He should still have a look at it. Oh, is MJ just off left. You can probably hear, maybe see a little bit. It is starting to rain at this point in the round.
There you go.
See the umbrellas obviously not affecting Chris. Still able to make the putt for his birdie. So he's in solo second for the moment. Bo also able to card the birdie, excuse me, as he scurries out of the way. And Matt has that for his birdie as well. So 3 birdies on hole 11, not the typical result. You see MJ tapping in his par, umbrella in hand. This was playing as the 4th hardest hole at 0.3 strokes over par. So the card playing 3 strokes under par, pretty impressive. As we move over to hole 12, par 3, 243 feet. Probably throwing a big backhand hyzer for the right-handed players, trying to just get over the retaining wall, or maybe take it wide and skip up onto the green. Plenty of room up high to take this. And Chris's shot lands in the crook of the tree there. Luckily, that is probably no more than 12 feet from the basket, but probably a little bit of difficult footing. And Matt almost doing the exact same thing. Actually getting a little bit of an unfortunate kick and roll away from the basket, but that should still be no more than 20 feet. Bo taking an inside line with his forehand and catching the bottom of the basket. Very fortunate, because that had the speed to skip off the back of the green. And MJ, no fireworks compared to the other 3, but puts it there. Winds up actually being the furthest away at 22 feet maybe. Probably pretty close to where Matt's looking at. And he cards the birdie. And Matt also able to. So as long as this tree does not give Chris too much difficulty in his footing, just puts it right in there. There's your answer. So we are looking at our first star frame here at Stafford Woods.
It's such a cool spot. I want to acknowledge that somebody landed there. It's a thing, apparently.
So, very interesting hole. Winds up with great scores for everybody. We're moving over to hole 13, par 3, 204 feet. Shortest hole on the course, and it's downhill. Pretty much just gotta miss the trees and get it down in time. Honestly, the hardest part of this hole is not throwing it too far. Chris doing a good job at using the ground to slow him down. Maybe leaving it a little shorter than he intended, but inside the circle nonetheless. Matt Bell going very high forehand. He'll be probably outside the circle long and in those laurels. Bo almost hitting the base of the pin. He should have no issues with that putt. MJ a little early right, but sneaks through. He'll be behind that tree, but we'll see if, yeah, Little straddle out. He has a look. And he knew it. Picking up as many before the disc was even in the chains. Great putt. And now putting Matt Bell's putting skills to the test. Looks like he's going to have to go up and over everything. Oh, and off the cage. Great bid. Chris, plenty close enough. Also knew it before it went in. And Bo pretty much tap in. So 3 birdies. Again, other than Matt being a little long. Almost 2 star frames in a row. But lots of scoring on these short holes. And we're moving over to the third of these short holes. Par 3 for hole 14. 285 feet. Back uphill, so a little bit longer. Uphill, adding to it, maybe a little closer to 300. Making it a probably a higher scoring average, but the line is more of the difficult. You can throw a backhand hyzer, and that is probably about as best as you can do. You need something to go left and then right, so a righty forehand flex line, if you want to think of it that way, is probably the shot shape. But you can get pretty close with that right to left shot, either the backhand for righties or the forehand for Bo, the lefty. But can't quite park it, I guess is my point, because your disc is fading away from the basket by the time it gets to the end of the flight. MJ gets actually even closer than Chris with that shot, so it's certainly possible. And now we'll see Matt throw that flex forehand, probably the preferable line if you have it. As you see, it goes around and then starts to curve back towards the basket. And Matt is up on the green, and maybe it's just a little bit too much on it. Goes past. And Bo was the only one that wasn't up there clean, so he'll have the longest look. Probably more of an upshot. Catches little tree, but he'll still be right there to save his par. Chris just a bit wide right. Not able to card the birdie. MJ a couple steps in front of him. And continuing to extend his lead. Bo quickly tapping in his par, and now this is Matt for his birdie. And nails it. Great putt. Good comebacker for Chris. As we move over to hole 15, par 4, 750 feet. I want to thank Iron Hill Brewery for sponsoring our drone coverage again. Out of the woods on your first shot, trying to land somewhere out in the open. The rough on this hole is not out of bounds, but obviously don't want to land there to obstruct your run-up. Pretty much anywhere out in the open is going to be fine. More distance, the easier your second shot will be. Second shot, you have quite a few options. You can go left side to the biggest gap, but that leaves you the longest distance you're traveling through the woods. You have the straight gap, a little bit tighter, and then there's also a big high hyzer, kind of crash through the trees far right. Either way, you're trying to get down to this beautiful built up green down on the side of this hill. One of the iconic greens on this course. MJ narrowly missing the trees on the right side. And stays out of the rough, so using the full width of the fairway there, but good spot that he ends up in nonetheless. Matt Bell taking it a little bit straighter and quite a bit further left side and far down the fairway. Chris throwing much straighter shot. Comes back just in time. And a little bit more on the right side. Maybe opening up some different options for him. Bo, a little bit of a flex forehand. Something stable. And putting him right in the middle of the fairway. That'll work. So Chris on the right side. The backhand looks like he's going towards that middle gap, or maybe the far right a little bit lower. And catches the tree. That was looking perfect. Obviously, one of the other challenges here is to slow your disc down in time. This is probably the steepest slope of anywhere on the course. Bo also getting caught up by the trees. But having your disc stop near the basket from throwing it so far away is difficult. And we see MJ trying the roller here. Oh, and catching that tree. That was going probably a little too straight. From where the camera was, the basket is a lot further down the hill. So it might have curled up eventually. But I think that was probably a good tree for MJ. Matt Bell going with the big high crashing hyzer. And that should work. Little up on the hill, but he's the closest to the basket. Chris giving it a good bid. Nice and floaty. I think it stayed pretty close. Not quite up on that the mulch circle, but should be right there. And Bo also giving it a pretty good bid. Happy it didn't roll, because the hill does continue back past the pin, so it can go pretty far down the hill even after your third shot if you don't keep it close. Oh, and Matt not able to take advantage of being the closest. So, depending on exactly where Chris is, I think all of these guys are going to be tapping in their pars. He actually does have a little bit of work left, but he's just at the bottom of that lip. Good putt by Chris. Like I said, these guys will be just tapping in. So, moving over to hole 16 is a par 4, 545 feet. Fairly short for a par 4, but OB left and right and all the way around the green, maybe a little bit outside of circle 1, excuse me, behind the basket to the hanging basket, another iconic hole on this course. These guys basically just keeping it inbounds for the first shot, giving themselves a pretty easy approach for their second. And this needs to sit. Oh. Took it so wide. It was actually over the out of bounds right for the beginning of the flight and still skipping all the way back left. So even though this is a pretty short par 4, it does have some teeth to it, as we see. Chris really challenging that right side after seeing Matt's go out of bounds left, but able to have it swing back enough. And Bo happy just to pretty much pitch up to the wide part of the fairway, because that should only leave him about 325 into the green.
Oh no, not 330. Slow down, buddy girl. It's 280, yeah.
And beautiful approach by MJ. Chris going standstill. Super high and wide. Kicking through the trees and almost running the basket. That was obviously him going for that eagle, being that close. And luckily staying that close and able to be right in the basket for his par. For his birdie, excuse me. Matt, after that shot, will be there for his par. And Bo staying in bounds, but has a little bit of a difficult putt. But able to hit it for the birdie. MJ moving to 25 under. Now having still a 6-stroke lead over the card. Want to shout out somebody. Harry Chase is currently the closest player to MJ at this point. He is done with his round at 23 under. And if you're doing the math, his first round was a 10 under, which makes this round 13 under at the longs at Stafford Woods, which I confirmed with the tournament director, Adam Harris, is a course record. So congrats to him. Already done. Tournament's still happening within 2 strokes of MJ for the lead. So that's pretty much what MJ knows and has to hold on to that. Starting off with these last 2 holes, hole 17, par 4, 646 feet, a pretty difficult par 4. Very tight line off the gap, and that is not how he wanted to start it. Is fortunate to stay right in the middle of the fairway, but probably less than 100 feet off the tee. And Chris hitting the gap, going left side. There's a lot of small stuff over there, but there is kind of a left fairway. Not quite as clean, but certainly can play down that way. Makes the hole a little bit longer. Bo probably trying to flip that up a little bit more. That was looking like a good line, but fading just a little bit early, hitting a tree. Gonna wind up on that right side. And Matt trying to play the Hyzer flip to turnover, which is definitely a good play, but not able to get it around the corner before it started to turn. And MJ with a beautiful second shot, getting him back into position. You can see we're just there. So speaking of great shots, you see the graphic down below. Our Patreon page, we post highlights of every tournament that we cover before the full coverage comes out, as well as disc giveaways, exclusive merch, and other great benefits. So if you'd like to check any of those things out, head over to patreon.com/HyzerMedia. You can also simply support us for as little as $2 a month. We super appreciate everything that our Patreon members help us out with. And if you'd like to be one of them as well, see your name at the beginning of our tournament coverage, you can head over there. So Bo with a good shot, and he's going to be off to the left, maybe within 80 or 90 feet. Chris's second shot catches the tree, so he'll be probably 120 to 150 out. Matt Bell almost ringing it up after his third shot. Didn't really look like he had much, but able to get it all the way there, and like we saw, scaring the basket. So both he and Chris will have similar length putts to save their par. And this is MJ's third shot. Fading out a little early, but he'll be on the green within the circle. And Bo furthest up after 2 shots, and able to ring up the birdie from 80 feet or so. Great putt by Bo. Take a look at it again. Floaty Hyzer putt, hits it, perfect spot, falls right in there, almost never a doubt. Oh, and that was low right side. Can't quite believe that was able to find its way out of the basket. So that leaves Bo and Chris tied for second place on this card. But like I said, Harry Chase is in the clubhouse, so to speak, with a 13 down for this round, 23 overall. So, oh, and sorry, that was actually a bogey for Chris. So he'll be trying to catch Bo after this, and also keep Matt off his tail for the final hole of this tournament. Hole 18, par 3, 367 feet. Kind of an S shape off the tee. Bo's backhand may be able to flex all the way up there. The rest of these guys will probably try to throw a forehand flex to get up there.
Land in the middle.
Bo catching an early tree, but continuing to move forward. He is... looked like he worked his way up to the fairway, cutting through the corner. And MJ looks like he caught a tree, but he's also in a similar spot to Bo. And here's that forehand flex line that can get all the way up to the basket. Matt knows how close he is to both Bo and Chris. And I'm not sure if that caught something or if it was just a little bit too stable. He's going to be right side, probably pin high, but not quite up there. On the green, that is. Chris going left side, but open. So he'll have a good approach line at it. Bo utilizing the fallen trees lining the fairway to slow him down, so he'll end this round with a par. Chris looks like he's going for it. Oh, he almost did. Running it at the basket, and then of course catch cam operator, so good to stay out of the way, but he'll actually have a little bit of work for his comeback. And there's MJ under the laurels with a 2-stroke lead for his par. And Matt splits those two trees with a spike forehand, and he's parked for his par to finish out this tournament. Bo also with a par. Chris still with a little bit of work left, holding on to a tie with Matt right now. And great putt. Very good putt for Chris. And here it is. Not the easiest position, but able to end it with a par to finish off the tournament. 25 under. 15 down at Tranquility Trails, and 10 under here at Stafford Woods. Would have been the hot round if it weren't for Harry Chase, but congratulations to Michael Johansen. Great playing both rounds. And as we see, a lot of good golf. 8 out of the 10 top scores were 1,000 rated. Harry Chase with that 1070 rated round. So Matt and Chris are tied for 4th with Dylan Horst, Bo coming in 3rd, Andrew Fish, Mike Moser, all those guys doing great up there. Thank you to D-Town Disc Golf for supporting our coverage one more time, and thank you to all of you for joining. I hope you enjoyed this coverage, one of the bigger tournaments of the year. We are covering a lot of tournaments this year. Like I mentioned, this is stop 11 of 25, so make sure you hit that subscribe button, check out all the stuff that we're doing, and we also have a podcast. If you're still looking for more content to watch, you can check that out here, and we'll see you in the next hole.